Commonwealth Journal Sports Show. Today I come to you from the archive room of the Commonwealth Journal. In this room right here we have a bound volume of newspapers going back to the 1920s. I mean, over 100 years of history is recorded in this small room. And one of the reasons I probably did it in this room today is because also we're going to have sort of a history lesson, and we're going back. One of my episodes, or one of the features I have today, is talking about the Dunbar School. And the Somerset High School basketball team is going to have a retro night to where they are going to wear retro Dunbar jerseys. They're like blue and yellow, and that's sometime in February. But we're going to talk about that. We're talking to Somerset Mayor Alan Keck, who's going to talk about Dunbar and the significance of Dunbar and the history of the community. Also Jeff Perkins, a longtime educator, coach at Somerset High School. He was a student at Dunbar through the 7th or 8th grade, he told me. So he'll talk a little bit about the school. And also basketball coach Jerron Dunbar, who is no relation to the Dunbar School, but he's sort of talking about the reason they come up with this, and how the kids are excited about being able to honor this historic school who won a state championship back in the early 50s, and also went all the way to the finals of the national championship. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we talked to the Southwestern High School girls cross country team. They qualified for the state championship last weekend in Monticello. They qualified for the state for the first time in probably almost 10 years. So a lot of excitement about the running program at Southwestern, and we'll talk to those girls. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's go to our Dunbar retro reunion. It's shot on location at Somerset High School. About this retro Dunbar game and activity. Of course, today we had a lot of dignitaries here and sort of celebrating this. Talk a little bit about this.
Well, this actually was an idea that came about in the basketball season last year. You know, there were some teams in the area and throughout the state that do throwback games, and we were talking. I think we were on our way home from a game. We were talking about it, my staff and I, and we kind of came to this conclusion. You know, we've got the Dunbar School. You know, it would be awesome to get this thing going and try to share with the community, you know, what happened back then, and showing off how Dunbar High School was. And you know, they had a lot of success with basketball, and so we're going to do this game on February the 15th here at home against Greene County. We're going to try to blow it up as much as we can. You know, whenever we had this idea, we went to Coach Perkins, talked to him about it. He gave us a lot of information. We met with Miss Wilson and Mr. Wesley, and they were all on board with everything. Miss Amanda Brooks, she did this painting for us, so we're going to have that on display, and hopefully we can get some of the family members and some of the guys that played on that team back here. I think it'd be a good night for everybody, be a good night for the whole community.
What do the kids think about this? Plus, obviously, they get to wear a new uniform. That's probably going to be exciting.
They're excited anytime they can wear something different. So, you know, we want to make this an annual thing. Do this every year, so we'll wear these uniforms one game every year in celebration of this. But yeah, the kids are very excited about it. You know, they saw me bring the box in the other day with uniforms. Those are Dunbar uniforms, so we had to break them out and show them. We was going to try to keep it a surprise as long as we could for them, but you know them. So they're very excited, and you know, the people we've talked to in the community, they're excited about it also.
Coaches are always superstitious. What if y'all have like your best game all year wearing Dunbar uniforms?
Well,
could it be a fact you might wear them all
I try not to be superstitious. I try not to fall into that stuff, but sometimes I am. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we'll win that game.
Talk a little bit about this event and then what brought it about and this stuff.
Sure. So, you know, the event is a throwback game, if you will, but I'd call it a heritage game as well. It's an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the history. You know, Somerset's incredibly rich in athletic history, and we're proud of that as a community. And so this was an idea that some folks came up with as a way to sort of showcase the accomplishments of Dunbar, and also I think to educate the current athletes about what was going on at that time.
You being a mayor of Somerset, and obviously you played your
Yeah.
high school here at Somerset. So what significance does it have for the city and the school of Somerset? I mean, just talk a little bit.
Well, it's huge for me as mayor. I want to make sure that we promote all our accomplishments as a community. You know, it's easy to focus on Somerset High School's accomplishments, but I think that it's important to kind of take a broader lens and to celebrate the accomplishments of Dunbar. You see behind me this 53 state championship ball. You know, some of that history has been lost on many, and it's important for us to recognize it and celebrate it.
Growing up, you told me when you went to Dunbar, and just talk a little about that, just, you know, the influence for you, the Dunbar school.
Yeah, going there, you had such a wide variety of folks that came in from other areas, and you saw a lot of people that were very bright academically and also athletically, and so we kind of looked up to those guys. And as Dunbar terminated grade 8, so after 56, they came to Somerset. And so we would look at some of their accomplishments, what they were doing, and they'd come down for lunch occasionally to a restaurant below the church there on South Maple. So we'd see those guys and just wanted to kind of follow in their footsteps about what they were doing, especially athletically, because we were so young. But they had a huge influence on us in terms of what they were doing here at Somerset after, you know, they terminated at grade 8.
You had the unique advantage of being both at Somerset and Dunbar. What was that like? I mean, was that sort of a blessing for your life to be able to experience both? Or?
It was, you know, eventually it ended up being pretty good because I was football pretty much. And at Dunbar, of course, we didn't have football. Now, given when I was in the you know, early grades, we still played with the kids in the youth football league. So even though we went to Dunbar, we had that opportunity. And then in the middle school, when I came over, of course, then, you know, we got to play in the middle school group, but ended up being really good because at Dunbar, the only thing you do is play basketball.
If you could talk to the kids like of now who are in high school, I mean, what would you say about, you know, the significance of Dunbar and what Dunbar, you know, did for this area?
Well, it did a lot for this area, you know, because if you look at the surrounding areas, surrounding counties, they did not have schools. So a lot of, especially high school, they had to come to Somerset. So we had Clinton County, Russell County, Wayne County. They would come over and spend a week bored, and then they go back home on weekends. So, and then if you look at the accomplishments of some of those people that came out of here, they did absolutely unbelievable, you know, in terms of their career. And a lot of that had to do with the rigor that they had at Dunbar. The teachers were excellent. They held you to high, you know, accountability. I mean, you had to do some things, and there wasn't any ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because if you didn't, you went home, they already knew when you got there, so you had to deal with home, you know, so you got punished twice. But I would just tell kids that, you know, you just got to stay the course. And, you know, when you have hopes of what you want to be, then, you know, goals, don't give in, just continue to try to work and strive and to achieve. And I think at Dunbar, you know, just like Somerset Independent Schools, that's what they taught, and that's what a lot of the kids did. And as a result, you know, achieved at a high level.
Well, I hope you like that about the Dunbar retro jerseys and the retro game they'll be playing, and a little bit about history of Dunbar. Such a rich tradition and such a great school. Before we go into our next segment, let's go talk a little bit about what's going on in fall sports. It's all about wind down. All we have left is the cross country, football, and tonight, Wednesday night, we had our semifinals of the 12th Region Volleyball. Pulaski County defeated Mercer County 3-0 to advance to finals. Defending 12th Region champs Southwestern were eliminated by West Jessamine in just a barn burner of a match, 3-2. So they got knocked out. So and they will not be able to defend their title this year. It is at the Wigwam, and it'll be played on Thursday evening. The other fall sports, like I said, cross country, their state championships are Saturday in Lexington Horse Park. But the other big fall sports we got left is football, and it's getting down to the nitty gritty. Just this past week, all three teams finished out the district slate. Somerset will be second in their district. Pulaski got upset by Southwestern in overtime, 15-7. However, Pulaski is the #1 seed in that district. Southwestern, by beating South Laurel, got into the playoffs, and they will actually be playing Pulaski again in the first round of the playoffs. So now we start talking about the RPI ratings. Now they start getting important, because now the RPI ratings will sort of determine who plays on the road, who plays away in the third round. Like I said, in the first round of the 5A, it'll be Pulaski and Southwestern. The winner of that will probably face the winner of Whitley County and North Laurel. I don't really know who's going to win that. It could go either way. But then you get to the third round, and you start looking at the RPI ratings to see whether you're home or away. If we look at the RPI ratings, Pulaski County at one time was #2 in the RPI ratings. They're down to #5 now. So if they were to get to third round, more than likely they would be on the road through the third round, fourth round, of course, in the championship rounds at Kroger Field and University of Kentucky. As far as Southwestern is concerned, they're about maybe 12th or 13th in the rankings of the RPI. But the good thing about Southwestern is they're doing better on the road. They are 4-1 on the road. They're 0-4 at home, 4 on the road. So, I don't think Coach Foley or the Warriors really care about RPI ratings, because, to be quite honest with you, they're doing a lot better on the road. With the Southwestern win over Pulaski, anything can happen. It just shows you when and both coaches talked about this, when you play these crosstown rivalries, anything can happen. And so, who knows who will win that game. Somerset, Somerset right now has a #2 RPI rating behind, guess who? Lexington Christian Academy. But those two will not both be in the third round. They will be playing in the second round, more than likely, if both of them were to win the first round games, which I don't see as a problem. Of course, obviously, Somerset has to play Danville in the first round, and once again, anytime Somerset and Danville match up, it could be a tough game. But in the regular season game, Somerset took a little while to get going, but they finally was able to run away from Danville, and that will be a home game. So, but in the second round, they had to go back to LCA. Of course, the Somerset LCA game, the last time they played, it came down to a last-minute 2-point conversion by LCA to come out with a 1-point win. So that's anybody's guess who's going to win that game. And then more than likely, whoever wins that will probably host the next rounds. Now, the one thing about the 3 seed in RPI is Mayfield, and they're just a couple points behind Somerset in the RPI rating. So, depending on the last opponent, they'll close out the RPIs after this week that play on Friday. So, whoever wins those games may help the RPI ratings, and especially in the Somerset case, it could come out big. So, still, there's a lot of games to be played, and a lot of things can happen. And all the RPI rating does is just tell you whether you can have a chance to be home or away. And in the third and fourth rounds, that sometimes is important. So, all 3 teams are playing this Friday. Pulaski County will host Tates Creek, a 6A school. Southwestern will host Madison Central, another 6A school, and then Somerset will be traveling to Corbin, which has always been a classic game. Used to, they were long-time district rivals, not been in the same class or district for a while, but that could be a great game too. So got a lot of football, and it's getting really exciting this time of year. And it's football weather. It's getting cooler, rain. Just anything goes at this time of the season. So that's a little bit about the RPIs and the football season. Now our last feature, like we talked about, coming up this weekend will be the state cross-country championships and the Southwestern girls team. Both them and the Pulaski girls teams finished in the top 5 in the region and got to go to the state championships. The Somerset boys also qualified out of the Class A. So this next feature, we're just talking to the girls and Coach Debbie Carrington just a little bit about what it took for them to be able to improve to where they get to go to the state championships.
Talk about how long it's been since y'all been able to qualify for state and how neat it is to be able to finally do that.
It's really been quite a while, and we've got a really good team this year that's worked really hard, and we've made that our goal to go to state, and I'm just glad that we're getting to do that. But it has been quite a few years since we've had a team that's able to go. We've had individual qualifiers, but not collectively as a whole team.
Any of y'all, just talk about some interesting stuff that happened this year, some of the fun things y'all done together throughout the season.
The Cowboys We've had a lot of meets, like at each other's houses, at like restaurants like Fazoli's.
Every Friday.
Yeah, mostly every Friday. We just come, just have a blast.
Have y'all become better friends? Will this be something maybe y'all be lifelong friends with this kind of experience?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What do y'all think it's gonna be like going to state?
It's gonna be
It would really be just unbelievable because like I'm only in 8th grade, so I've never really had the experience, and now I feel like I've just been surrounded with a great group of girls, and it would just be amazing to go experience that with them.
Now, y'all in a couple of big meets as far as the big crowds. Talk about that, and when y'all talk about how much different it is like a meet like this where you got smaller numbers.
Well, a meet with big people, it's like, oh, well, if I don't get first, it's okay. Or if you don't win as a team, it's like just there to have fun. Here it's like, well, we're here to win it, and it's a little bit more stressful, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Coach, what advice did you give them for the state meet and what they've got coming up now?
We've got to just work on getting our times down, working together as a team, pulling our team together as a unit as far as distance between, our first and last runners, and just learning to get out of the pack and work within the pack because there'll be a lot of runners at state.
Okay, y'all got a cheer or something you can do special for me here to end the video?
Horizontal 3.
Horizontal 3.
Bring it in?
No, we're run for Lydia.
No.
Oh.
No. Okay.